Welcome to the Astrology Star Sisters Talk over tea. Our topic today is You're a Sky Full of Stars, and my astrology star sister that's joining me today is Marcia Butchart. Welcome, Marcia.
Hi
How,
there, everybody.
how are you
Hi, Liz.
today?
Doing pretty well, actually. It's cool and soft and gray, and I like weather like this.
I know I had to put a sweater on because it's like just that temperature where it's like I'm not quite warm enough without a sweater.
Yep.
So, we have an exciting topic, and this relates to the fixed stars. So, let's get to it.
All right.
So to get a hold of Marcia, you can email her at madam@mindspring.com. And to get a hold of myself, you can go to my website, alightpath.com. And we enjoy hearing from you. So I'm going to turn it over to Marcia to talk about A Sky Full of Stars.
Okay, everybody. This little podcast is by way of a teaser. All right. You are a sky full of stars, just like the Coldplay song. The first time I heard that song, I went, yes, because I so enjoy working with the fixed stars in my own astrological work. And the subject is vast enough that we're going to do a series of at least 4 podcasts addressing different facets of how fixed stars impact a birth chart because it can be enormous. We tend to focus on one facet of fixed star work in a chart. Liz, if you can change the slide there. Our modern tradition, the customary way that I most often see fixed stars used in mainstream astrology is to use what is called their projected ecliptic degrees, which is a mathematical formula process that projects a star's position, wherever it might exist in the sky, down onto the ecliptic, that path of the sun around the Earth around the sun, or the sun's apparent path through the zodiac throughout the year. Now, this was originally invented, as I have learned, mostly as a way to measure the rate of precession of the equinoxes, because of course there is, since we're tilted on our axis, our Earth, and over 26,000 something odd years, the North Pole does this rotation just like a top. Okay, which means that that degree, the cardinal points when the sun and crosses the ecliptic, when it goes from uh, north to south, when it pauses at the solstices, the constellations that those points are on are going to shift about 1 degree every 72 years. So, if you are 72, yes, things have shifted for you. The exact position of the fixed stars against the ecliptic. So none other than Claudius Ptolemy worked hugely with this. He created a whole catalog of fixed stars, and then wrote to his astrologers of the future, okay, come back in 100 years and use my mathematics to measure again, and we'll see just how fast precession is proceeding. So, a star's projected position onto a specific zodiac degree may be nowhere near the ecliptic at all. My favorite example of this is Polaris, our current North Star, the tail of the Little Bear, or Ursa Minor constellation. It's nowhere near the ecliptic, but it has a projected ecliptic degree. Is it anywhere near? But my next favorite candidate for re-examination of the whole concept of projected ecliptic degrees is Algol, the star that is the head of the Gorgon in the constellation Perseus. Back in July, okay, there was an event that everybody was panting about. You can change the slide now, Liz. And this was the Mars-Uranus conjunction, which was said to be conjunct Algol. There was a lot of chatter on the internet and anxiety about this upcoming conjunction, because as the head of the Gorgon, okay, was the Gorgon was this fearsome monster, a woman with snakes for hair, whose visage was so ugly that people who she stared at turned into stone, until Perseus was able to slay her. And so in the constellation Perseus, that little, wobbly looking circle thing, Algol is one of the stars in that little circle. Okay. And the other little circle is around Mars and Uranus. Now, Algol's projected ecliptic degree is currently 26 degrees and 30 minutes of the sign, zodiac sign of Taurus, using a tropical orientation. And the Mars-Uranus conjunction was at 26 Taurus and change. But we've forgotten, in our sort of ecliptifying everything, that there's this up and down that happens too. There's above and below the ecliptic. And Algol's celestial latitude is 22 degrees and change away from the ecliptic. Now, modern astrologers usually use a maximum orb for a conjunction of 10 degrees. So while the projected ecliptic degree of Algol may be spot on, an actual bodily conjunction possible, I respectfully submit not. So the next question is, well, can any planet ever conjoin a fixed star? And the answer is yes, absolutely yes. If two conditions happen. If the star is within 9 degrees north or south of the ecliptic. Oh, by the way, a little bit of extra data here. North or south of the ecliptic measures what's called celestial latitude, not declination. Declination measures distance above and below the celestial equator. And number two, if a planet's travel, because they don't, except for the sun, which is always at 0 degrees of celestial latitude, other planets can go north or south of that, especially in their retrograde loops. You'll often see, if you ever see some of those astro mapping things, a planet will come along, go forward, then do this loop and come back. Or it'll do some sort of weird zigzaggy thing. And this is where a lot of the above and below the ecliptic happens. So a planet's travel has to reach about 9 degrees, little less than, north or south of the ecliptic. Here's the interesting thing. I did a bunch of research trying to figure this out using Bernadette Brady and Astrologos's program Starlight. Of the visible planets, only Venus gets that high, north or south of the ecliptic. That was a surprise to me. This is the visible planets now. We're not talking about Pluto, okay, who has a huge latitude range, 17 degrees above or below. But of the visible planets, the ones that you're looking at when you go out and look up and see beautiful things in the night sky, it's only Venus who has this range of motion. I personally thought it was going to be Mars. Not so. Silly me.
We can all learn, that's for sure. There's always something new to learn.
Okay, Liz. So everybody who's there, listening live or whatever, take a screenshot if you like, because these are the ranges that all of the visible bodies get above or below the ecliptic, north or south. So other than Mars, I would have thought that it would be the moon. Mars is second, but Venus is tops. She can get, over 8 degrees north or south of the ecliptic, especially during her retrograde loops.
So we have a question from the audience. So does that mean that only Venus is ever conjunct a fixed star, or the only planet?
No, it doesn't. Because, and this is something that I can provide in future, or I can send the document to you, Liz, and you can send it to interested people. I did a catalog of major fixed stars and the planets that are capable of conjoining them.
Okay. And I could put it on my website if that's all right with you, and then people that are interested could go to my website and download it, and I could put the information below it in the comments about the show.
Perfect. That's great. And thanks for that question.
Yes, thanks to our audience for watching. We love our questions.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
Okay. So we can go on now.
Okay, thank you.
So to illustrate this little point I just made, let's take another look at the Mars-Uranus conjunction that happened in July. And I invite you in the little close-up of the sort of star map there to the right of the slide. Notice the Pleiades. They're that little starry blot that's just above the pinkish purpley Gemini glyph. Okay, their chief star that gets interpreted most often as a, sort of a separate entity, the alpha star, is called Alcyone. Now, the Pleiades' projected ecliptic degree is 0 Gemini, and the Uranus-Mars conjunction was at 26 and change of Taurus. Okay, that's 4 degrees away. And the Pleiades' celestial latitude is 4 degrees away from the ecliptic. So yes, a planet can be within orb for a conjunction with the Pleiades. It depends on how strict you want to be with your orbs. If you want to use the maximum orb, say 10 degrees, you're free to do that. I choose to use much tighter orbs, but certainly something that's only 4 degrees away would be considered legit along the ecliptic itself. And so that circle, that 4-degree little circle, just imagine it around a planet. Okay. And yes, it's picking up the energy of a fixed star. Another little point of information. The technical term for the time when a planet and occludes a star, the conjunction is so exact that they cross over each other visually in the sky, and the star disappears behind the planet, is called an occultation. When it happens with the sun and moon, we call it an eclipse. When it happens with another planet and anything else, it's an occultation. Occult meaning hidden. Yes, the star goes into hiding.
That's a good tidbit of extra information. I like that.
Yeah, So the fixed star's impact on a chart, the way I have started thinking about fixed stars and what they actually mean is that they may well be your hidden superpowers.
Can you give us an example of what a superpower is?
Well, you can just go to any any movie theater and watch, the Marvel superheroes and the Avengers and, Spider-Man and Iron Man and Thor and everybody else. They have this, power that they struggle to use and control. It is a struggle sometimes. It's not easy to be, to have a superpower in the first place. But I want to turn this notion that we're victims of the stars a little bit, look at it through a different lens, that this is something that's within you that you can use. Back to Algol. Speaking of Algol, the head of the Gorgon. Okay. There are ways in which Algol can impact a chart. Okay. It will never be one of the heliacal rising or setting stars in the northern hemisphere, although it could be in the southern hemisphere if you're from there. But it can be angular, it can be co-culminating, it can be in paranatelon or an in mundo aspect with a natal planet. What does that mean? Okay, so here's the big reveal. I have Algol in my chart related to my moon. Well, think about it. The big superpower that poor Medusa was cursed with by Athena was that she turned people to stone. And I discovered that I've been able to do this just by staring someone in the face. You can stop action, particularly hostile action, in its tracks. I won't go into the huge autobiographical thing, but I will say that I began to realize that I must have something during the years when I had an after hours job as a belly dancer. I was mild mannered office assistant by day and Khalida by night. And whenever it came down to the portion of the performance where the dancer is supposed to descend from the stage and move among the audience, people drew back and just sat there frozen in their chairs. They were petrified. Nobody tried to grab. Nobody tried to, get fresh. They all just kind of went as if they were backing away from something that was a little too hot to touch. So I used to wonder if something was wrong with me. Well, it was Algol. It was actually a protection. Because here's the interesting thing about Medusa and her story. She was a priestess of Athena and, tended her temple. And Athena and Poseidon were rival deities, and Poseidon did not like Athena because Athena had won the right to be the patron deity of the city of Athens by giving what the people considered the better gift. So Medusa's beauty caught his eye, and he went and had his way with her in Athena's temple. So one version of the story says that Athena blamed Medusa for not properly protecting the temple and thus cursed her to become ugly and have snakes for hair and turn people to stone. Another more modern read on it is that Athena was protecting Medusa from future attacks. Medusa did have to go and live, a life in exile because, otherwise the whole populace is, going to be frozen in place for the rest of time in a very short while. But at the same time, Medusa all of a sudden could protect herself. After she was slain by Perseus, and Perseus used her head to turn the big Cetus sea monster that was threatening the coastline of Cassiopeia and Cepheus' kingdom. Then they came and he offered Athena the head of Medusa, and she placed it in the center of Zeus's shield, her father, her god father. And it became a symbol of protection. Yes, the aegis was to be under someone's aegis is to be absolutely guarded and protected. So what if this power to turn people to stone is actually a power to use for protecting others against harm? Think about that.
I like that. And thank you for sharing your story with us.
So here's the punchline for people who may be wondering now about Algol in their own charts. Anyone who has a planet or a chart angle within, say, 17 to 19 degrees of Taurus has Algol as one of your patron, you have that superpower.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. So in the future, if you can go back one slide, Liz.
I can.
There. So in the next four little podcasts, what we'll delve into is how each of these are ways in which stars can impact your chart. They can be heliacal rising or setting stars. They can be co-rising or setting as planets rise and set. They can be co-culminating with planets, and they can be in these paranatelonta, in-mundo aspects with your natal planets. Here is the magic. None of this requires a zodiac. None of it. What we do is get into the vertical dimension of just going out and looking up and seeing where planets are on the horizon and overhead and underneath. And it doesn't require a zodiac to interpret it.
That's very interesting. And a viewer has a question of what the superpower of Libra would be.
The superpower of Libra,
Yes.
it depends which star you're looking at, because Libra has two major stars, the Zubin brothers, as Bernadette Brady jokingly calls them, Zubin El Ganubi and Zubin Esh Kamali. And they are the pans of the scale of Libra. You know, those, and you think of justice holding the scales, you know, all the sculptures of justice. You think of those old scale pans in the old shops that were used to weigh things. They still use scales of that kind, mechanical, you know, very precise measuring things. It implies that you have a capacity for being fair, for actually seeing that things are in balance.
Well, thank you for that.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite little poems that I love to refer to when talking about the fixed stars. You know, it's a poem, last couplet from the poem by John Masefield, Sea Fever. I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by. So
I like
join
that.
us in the next, you know, few months, and you will find stars to steer you by.
Well, thank you. And thank you to our viewers. And that was our introduction. And we're going to make this a series. So sign up, subscribe, and you'll be notified when we're going to do our next podcast. We haven't scheduled it yet, but we'll be back soon with more. And upcoming podcasts with myself and Justin Elzy. We do a full moon forecast each month, a monthly astrology forecast. And Justin and I are working on a Chiron asteroid series. Chiron retrograde part 2 is next week. And the Astrology Star Sisters Talk over tea. Some of my other star sisters with Joy Vernon, we do the Scorpio decans coming up with astrology and tarot. Sue Minahan and myself do the dwarf planets, and our next topic will be seed points of renewal. Then Madam Simon, we're going to do Uranus retrograde and Pluto into Capricorn. And with Marcia, we'll be back to do your A Sky Full of Stars part 2.
Heliacal rising and setting stars.
And then I will be on Talk Cosmos on September 1st for the Virgo new moon, and you can be a viewer then or watch it at a later date on my YouTube channel. And I do consultations. I have a newsletter if you'd like to sign up for that. And my YouTube channel, I'd love to have you be a subscriber, and we appreciate you. And again, to get a hold of Marcia, it's madam.m@mindspring.com. And my website is alightpath.com. And thank you, Marcia, for being here with me today and going on this journey. And then all the viewers that are here, and we appreciate your support, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Yeah. And before the next time, if any of you want to, go out and look up. Do you have a favorite star in the sky? I mean, I got into the stars when I was a little kid, and I would go out and look up, and I would try to remember to wake up at 1 a.m. so that I could go see the Great Square of Pegasus at the proper time of year. You had to do it at the proper time of year. Stars have seasons, just like the Earth, just like the sun.
It's like a new painting or a new show every night if you have a clear sky. So enjoy.
Yeah.
See you next
Okay.
time. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay.